Welcome to the Darker Side Podcast. This is a podcast where we delve into the darker side of our existences. The morbid, the macabre, the spooky, and the absurd are all fair game as we discuss murders, UFOs, cryptids, creepypasta, the paranormal, and the dark depravity of the human soul. I am David, and with me as always is Forrest, Rachel, and John. How are we all tonight?
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Doing well.
Doing
It's
well.
beautiful
Good
outside.
job, guys.
It's beautiful.
Woohoo! All right, we're episode 8, everybody.
Heck yeah.
This is good.
I'm psyched.
Recently, we've had a huge increase of likes on our Facebook page.
Major.
A lot of people are starting to really like this podcast.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, we give a shout out to everyone for liking it. Again, please download our episodes and listen to them.
Please
we greatly
do.
appreciate it.
Rate them. Rating them is huge.
Oh yeah, rate them. We have 5
Please.
ratings right now. We need more, guys.
Facebook,
Review,
Instagram.
Rate and review.
Rate and
please.
review, please. Even iTunes.
All right, guys. Well, on our show today, we have our first diving deeper into the darker side, part 2, with a continuation of the Rendlesham Forest story. Later, Rachel and John are going to dive into the madness that is this story and take you all along with them. I'm looking forward to it, guys. I really am.
I am too.
Part 2.
It's going to be fun.
Heck yeah.
All right, guys, at this time, I'm going to introduce a new segment. It's a segment where I give a few fun historical facts related to the darker side of humanity. The segment is called Today in History, Darker Side Edition. We are recording this episode on April 22nd, so I pulled the information from today's date, April 22nd, in history. So I'm going to give you our first one today, guys. In 1519, Spanish conquistador Hernan Cortez established a settlement in Veracruz, Mexico. We all know what happened down there when
Oh my god.
when Cortez started, basically destroying all the natives in South America and in the Mexico area.
I thought
He,
he just
he pulled
invented.
a Chris Columbus.
Yeah, just as bad, wouldn't it, John?
I thought he invented the margarita. I didn't realize there was all this negativity.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, nothing bad happened when Cortez landed in the southern area of the world. In 1915, the use of poison gas in World War I escalates when chlorine gas is released as a chemical weapon on the Second Battle of Ypres. Or Ypres, I think it might be. I think that was the old Krauts' fault. I think they're the ones who basically chlorine gassed the entire front there.
That sounds
Good
like
Lord.
fun.
No, it wasn't fun. It wasn't much fun at all for any of those people involved during that time.
My bad.
Good Lord. All right. In 1945, World War II. Führer bunker. After learning that Soviet forces had taken Eberswald without a fight, Adolf Hitler admits defeat in his underground bunker and states that suicide is his only recourse, if you believe that he actually took his own life.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, isn't tomorrow his birthday?
420 was his birthday.
420.
Oh my
Okay.
god. his
Yeah,
birthday
which
on
was
420.
Friday. Yeah. He was born on the 420s.
No.
So basically 2 days after his birthday, he supposedly committed suicide. There's facts in history that will tell you either way.
Yeah.
Happy,
so think
happy
about-
Hitler suicide day.
Think about what you're really celebrating, you dopers.
Yeah, it's basically in 1519, Spanish conquistador Hernan Cortez basically opened up the world for the rest of, everybody else to go down there and just pedal off of South America like the Nazis did after World War II. They
Fantastic.
established quite a bit of themselves down there. In 1997, Hoak Kamesti massacre happened in Algeria where 93 villagers were killed for absolutely no reason. I think one of the warlording generals in the area of that was going on a rampage and basically going from village to village and killing women, children, and men for absolutely no reason. It could have been religiously backed, I think. I'm not sure 100%. But I do know that was one of the things that did happen today in history. To top it off, our last one here in the darker side history on the day, the year 2000, in a pre-dawn raid, federal agents seized 6-year-old Elian Gonzalez from his relative's home in Miami, and we all remember that. We all remember
little
that
Elian.
happening. Poor guy, and I know he was sent back to Cuba, was he not?
I believe he was sent back to Cuba.
Yeah, unfortunately. And I'm not really sure what happened to Elian. I'm not, maybe we can do a little update on him at some point, but that's about it. All right, guys, well, let's jump into our news stories. Today, I have a news story I did get it again from coasttocoast.com. They're a wealth of
Nice.
knowledge in regards to that.
Coast to coast like taters and toast.
Right.
So, Massachusetts town orders UFO monument moved. A rather sizable monument that commemorates a historical UFO event is giving a small Massachusetts town quite the headache. The massive concrete marker, which stands 6 feet tall and weighs 5,000 pounds, honors the 1969 incident in the town of Sheffield in which over 40 people reported seeing the UFO. After this, I'm going to give you guys a little breakdown as to what happened in this UFO event so that you guys know why there is a commemoration. Okay. Although it was backed by some members of the community as well as witnesses to the event, it would seem that not everyone is thrilled with the unorthodox addition to the town. Following its initial installation in 2015 near a replica of a historic covered bridge, town officials quickly realized that it had been placed on public land and therefore had to be moved. Some chagrined residents suspect that this oddly timed discovery was made because of a faction of townspeople found in the monument to be eyesore next to the picturesque bridge. Nonetheless, the group behind the monument acquired the town's wishes and moved the piece 30 feet away to what was believed at that time to be private land. And then they basically followed up. Somebody said, well, no, that wasn't private land. That still is technically town public land. And now they want to move it again, but they're trying to halt it and state, no, that we don't want to move this thing again. We were told that this was private land. We're going to keep it there, and they're trying to fight it. That's where they are at this point with that story.
Now, where is Sheffield, Mass?
Sheffield is right...
is it in the Bridgewater Triangle area?
No, this is actually out in Great Barrington.
Oh,
This is in the
okay.
West Coast. So
Awesome.
We've actually probably been through the town when we
Oh,
go out
sure.
there in the
Wow.
Berkshires every summer and, you know, our time that we spend out there. So here's what happened in 1969. In 1969, a young Thomas Reed and his brother had a UFO abduction experience at their family home in Sheffield, Mass. Basically what happened to these two gentlemen is that they were very young. They were like 8 and 9. They saw a bright light, and then all of a sudden they're in this giant metal room. Like, not at their home, not anywhere else. Hours later, their mother finds them after looking for them for hours in their front yard. Both of the boys are in shock. They don't know what's going on. Fast forward a week later or so, the entire family gets abducted. The entire family, father, mother, grandmother, boys, all of them end up in this giant, like, warehouse room after seeing a bright light, and they're driving down the road in their car.
Interesting.
During this time, also, 30 or so other residents noticed bright lights and, like, ships in the general direction of their Sheffield home.
Interesting.
So those guys can corroborate, the witnesses can corroborate the fact
story,
that,
yeah.
So that's why this town recognized that event. But here's also a cool thing.
It sounds like it could be the impetus for Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah, and it definitely was a third kind experience.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what the Great Barrington Historical Society and the state of Massachusetts have both recognized this event as true and part of the state's official history and thus America's history, and is the first and only event of its kind to be introduced into the United States history as an official event.
And did you say state?
Yep, and state, Massachusetts, because it's recognized as the Massachusetts state history. It is technically now part of the United States history.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Massachusetts invented America, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it sure did. It sure did.
Everything's in Boston.
All right, guys. Forrest, that's my news story. Forrest, you have a news story for us today?
Oh, heck yes. So this is a follow-up story, pretty much, from what
The poop bin one?
Yes, for
Poop
the
train.
poop train.
Shoot
Ride
you.
on the poop train.
Poop train carrying human waste cleared after months squatting in Alabama town.
Squatting. I like that.
Yeah, and I got this from was it NBC News? I think it's NBC News, by Eric Ortiz.
Yep.
Alabama's poop train is no longer raising a stink.
Oh, God.
The mayor of the tiny town of Parrish, that train cars carrying human waste from New York City were finally emptied and cleared, and should be removed soon. So they were emptied and cleared.
So they just took the poop out and left the stinky trains there? Because those still have to stink, I would imagine.
So they removed the poop from the trains, and they haven't. Where did they put it? In other train boxes, or did they move the whole boxes? Yeah.
And I know they used the shark steamer on them to make sure that they were nice and clean.
And also correction too. With it wasn't just New York City. I think it was also like Newark, New Jersey.
Yeah,
or
there were a
something
couple
like that.
cities that were sending their poop over to this place. Yeah, I would think it was New York, New Jersey, New York City, etc. Yeah, the bigger ones in that metropolitan area.
And someone wrote, the Mayor Hall says, I know this situation took longer than anyone, especially myself, had hoped it would take to come to an end.
Come to
To
the
an
end.
end.
Like as in your poop chute.
The rear end.
But who
God.
they hired to take care of that?
I don't know. The shit comptroller? I'm not really sure who you would put in charge of that. It's definitely not the town. What do they call it? What do they call the place where all your poop goes in the town?
The poopatorium,
Poopatorium. I don't know.
So going
Yeah, the poop dump.
the waste management facility, the
Yeah,
wastewater,
wastewater management.
Or water treatment facility.
the water treatment plant.
oh my god.
Yeah, like the one in one of our towns near us in Southbridge where you can smell the entire thing all throughout everywhere.
Oh, we drive right by it. Oh,
Oh yeah.
Parked right next to a McDonald's and a grocery store,
Yes.
so in case you're hungry.
Yep.
Get your burger and fries and shit wafting up your nose. It's awesome.
so going forward, the town of 982 residents northwest of Birmingham gained notoriety and became the butt of several jokes.
But
The butt.
You
The
said
puns just
butt.
keep getting better and better.
Whoever wrote this is an ass.
Right out, whoever wrote this was an ass.
I did say his name, but I don't want to repeat it. He must have been cracking up. After complaining that the smell from the train was making the outdoors unbearable, can't come out here and barbecue like I used to, Parish resident Robert Nash told NBC affiliate this week. I know the flies were getting in my house.
Oh,
Ew.
Oh God, seriously, and it got a little warm down there during
Ugh.
the last few weeks. Good Lord.
Before the train cars were emptied, about 10 million pounds of human waste were on the train that came from waste management facilities in New York and New Jersey. The train was supposed to go through Jefferson County, but the town of West Jefferson obtained an injunction arguing in court earlier this year that the loading and unloading of containers violated its zoning laws.
Why would you want that stuff to go through your town? Why would you want that to be part of your town?
And that's basically it. If you guys want to read more about it or know more information about it, just go on our Facebook page and just read about it. We'll be
Yeah,
posting
exactly.
it.
You could call that a shitstorm, huh? Stupid pun. Anybody else got any more puns?
I didn't realize how much writing.
I'm out
was
of
still in the
poop puns.
You're out of poop puns?
Yeah, I'm pooped, quite frankly.
You're just quite pooped.
Oh my god! Too many.
John, do you have a news
much
story
poop.
or anybody?
I do.
Oh,
I do
cool,
actually.
cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I got this one from CBS. It's about a serial killer actually, and it's from February of 2018. So some of you might have read this already, but if you hadn't, Rodney Alcala was convicted of killing 5 people in the 1970s, and then was convicted in 2010 of 2 more murders.
Wow.
And they believe that he's committed many more. He's one of those sexual serial killers that really like to kind of toy with his victims. He's a gross dude. But what they found when they were investigating his crimes was he had a storage locker in Seattle, and there was thousands of photographs in there.
I think I saw
Thousands.
the tagline of that story. I didn't read it though, but yeah.
Yeah.
So he had all these. Oh, and they were able to, through these pictures, convict him of more recently, or
Of 2 more. So they're looking for.
Wow.
They're looking. There's 100 people in photographs, and these pictures are of young kids, teenagers, boys, girls. Some of them in sexual, almost pornographic poses and depictions. Yeah, this guy's horrendous.
So he didn't have a preference. He just, as long as they were little kids, didn't matter, boy, girl, whatever.
He would
Wow.
he'd rape them and kill them. So what they found was there's about 100 photographs that the Huntington Beach, California detectives are actually looking at to try and figure out who are in these photographs.
Wait, did you just say Huntington Beach?
Yep.
Yeah, Huntington Beach, California.
I used to live near there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's 100 photographs, and underneath, what's interesting is, and if you guys look at the article, underneath each one of these is, do you recognize this person in the photo? Please contact Huntington Beach, California Police at 714-375-5066. So they're actively
Still trying to figure out
looking
who
for
these kids
looking
are,
for
yeah.
these people, and the pictures are haunting. If you guys look at these, they're just
Some of them are really, really.
just haunting photographs of people
Wow.
from the
Insane.
70s.
Yeah, man, that's
have to check that out.
the dark depravity of the human soul right there.
That is the definition of the dark depravity of the human soul. This guy's a real piece of shit.
So he had
Thousands.
killed over 100 kids, or at least
We don't know.
molested, or
They've convicted him of 7 murders so far, and they don't know what the full count is,
They
and they
still
don't
can't.
know anything about these 100 people and
Wow.
want any information.
Could be more.
yeah, guys.
So-
If anybody out there is listening, you can go to this site off the link of the news story that John here has given us, which will be providing links for all of these stories on our Facebook and any of our platforms. So if you're interested, read the article, and then if you grew up or know anybody grew up in the area, have them take a look at some of the photos. That way we can try to hopefully get this guy convicted of some more murders so he can spend a lifetime in prison.
Right.
He's already got a death sentence. He did this in California, so
Oh,
Yeah.
so they...
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't think they care about giving him another death sentence, but what they care about is figuring out, are
What
these people
happened to these
okay?
people?
Yeah, and let the kids or parents
Well,
of
that,
these
yeah.
people...
And
Cali followed
families.
suit.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, good, great news stories. Awesome job, guys. Very interesting stuff there. We've got some alien monuments. We got some more. Well, we got the removal of the shit.
We finally closed the door on the poop train.
Poop train.
And then we've
God.
got this serial killer with recent events. Hopefully, we can get some more of these people and families some rest on these issues. It's creepypasta time.
Yay.
Heck yeah.
Creepypasta time. Creepypasta time.
Creepy pasta.
All right, guys. This one is called Kids in the Dark.
Uh-oh.
Going back to kids. I
Kids
guess it's probably
again.
the most compelling. Growing up poor in the Deep South meant sharing a lot with my little brother Ollie. Most often, we'd pass toys, clothes, and skin conditions between us. up until he was 6, we even shared a bed. Neither of us was happy about that. It was my 10th birthday when that changed. I got one present that year, and it was a bed of my own. Ollie was jealous right away, and I could understand why. He had to keep the half-broken-down frame with the worn-out mattress. The one I'd gotten was much better, but not being broken and worn was enough. Sleeping apart was a great feeling. It was freedom. No longer would I have to suffer the sudden and inexplicable kicks to the stomach. No longer would I wake up with Ollie's foot pressed in my neck like he'd stepped on Dracula the night before. It's basically like sleeping with our 5-year-old. Yeah. And when he gets in the bed, it's like kicks, nudges, punches.
He needs 98% of the surface area of the bed,
Yeah, so he
as
needs
most
like
children do.
240 degrees where we're like
Oh,
straightforward. I think he gets that from his mother a little bit. So back to the story. At least that's what I thought. Right away, right after I got the new bed, the shrieks started. At first I thought Ollie woke up in the middle of the night and screamed because he'd gotten scared. Then the sound echoed through the tiny room again, and I knew it wasn't a normal cry. The room was always black as pitch after sunset. The one window we had was pressed against a long leaf pine, and even the biggest, brightest moon cast no light inside. The shriek just about drove me crazy. Every night, probably at the same exact time, these sharp yelps would knock me right out of my dreams. It wasn't my mom or dad yelling either. I knew what that sounded like, believe me. Most worrying of all was the fact that I could never tell where it was coming from. It seemed completely random. One night it'd come from somewhere near the closet, the next it'd shoot over the corner of the ceiling. Any hope I had of having my own space would get dashed every time as Ollie would silently slip into the bed with me, shaking like crazy. He collapsed onto me and wouldn't let go until it was almost daybreak. Most times I'd take his hand and tell him everything was going to be okay, and it'd be over by morning. But I was never really sure. Over time, the shriek started changing. At first, it was only by small degrees, but eventually it took on primal hooting sound of a primate calling out its fierce warning. I had to clasp pillows to my ears just to keep from going deaf. Mom and Dad never believed me or Ollie, basically because basically because the thing, wherever it was, refused to make a peep when they were in the room. Apparently, they couldn't even hear it through the walls, even though it was damn sure loud enough. The shriek just got worse and worse until it felt like I couldn't take it anymore. Me and Ollie were doing really bad in school, and we just had no energy at all. I could sleep more deeply with my head propped up and eyes open in the middle of class than in my own room at night. Then thankfully we moved out of the house nearly a year later. I had contemplated all sorts of things, even a child's clumsy concept of suicide to get away from the horrific night noise. There was no problem at the next house. It was nice. White cookie-cutter home on a dead-end street, and I welcomed the normality. What's more, when we moved in there was a bunk bed waiting for me and Ollie. No more broken beds, no more second bed I ended up having to share anyway. The only problem was deciding who'd get the top bunk. I told Ollie I deserved it after all. I had gotten a new bed way back, and he ruined it by climbing in every night. What? He shook his head. I never did that.
Ooh.
I had always wondered why the noise stopped the second I was sharing my bed. Now I had the answer.
Interesting.
Oh, I just get... Oh,
That is creepy. Well done.
that's some well-done creepypasta right there.
Wow.
Gave me the chills for shit sure.
Ugh.
Good lord. All right, that's creepypasta time, everybody, or I like to call creepypasta corner.
Creepypasta corner. That was
All right, thanks for joining us on
creepy.
that, guys. All right, guys, well, we're going to get on to our darker side movie review. This week we're reviewing Arrival. It's a 2016 drama mystery. I would put sci-fi on top of that.
a little bit.
Runs just about 2 hours. IMDb gives it a 7.9 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gives it 94%. Rachel?
Keeping it fresh.
Yeah, it's super
Wow.
fresh.
Fresh.
Metacritic gave it an 81. 88% liked this movie from the Google users.
Wow.
Linguistics professor Louise Banks, played by Amy Adams, leads an elite team of investigators when gigantic spaceships touch down in 12 locations around the world. As nations teeter on the verge of global war, Banks and her crew must race against time to find a way to communicate with the extraterrestrial visitors. Hoping to unravel the mystery, she takes a chance that could threaten her life and quite possibly all of mankind. All right,
Dun,
guys.
dun,
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Do I have to do it too?
Yes, please.
Dun dun dun.
I like that.
All right, so this movie starts off, we meet Amy Adams, and, she's this linguistics person. All of a sudden, these gigantic, weird rock-looking spaceships come out of the sky. And,
They almost look like almonds. Like big shiny almonds.
yeah,
They're
pretty
massive.
much.
Standing vertical. Or
And then-
hovering, I
right.
should say.
And then all of a sudden, she's being called off to go on this team because she's a linguistics expert. At some point, they're going to try to communicate, or at least potentially communicate with these aliens. And she's carted off to this one area in the it's the United States, right? She's in
Yeah.
Montana, I think.
I think so, yeah. And then she becomes part of this team. They try to figure out how to communicate with these creatures, what it's all about, what are they here for, and it goes from there. But the movie gets really deep into something
Very humanistic.
very humanistic. The narration and the directorial cuts, some of the scenes in this movie are really, really well done. I enjoyed this movie
Oh, the
thoroughly.
shooting was amazing.
Now, eventually we come to realize that she communicates with them, but she doesn't understand their language because their language is
It's visual.
It's like
Visual
a visual
language.
Yeah,
digital type.
Kind of looks like a
thing.
trash polka tattoo.
So basically what
a
happens
trash polka tattoo. Yeah,
is this team enters this weird tunnel thing that enters into the middle of the spaceship.
It's crazy.
And there's a glass wall in which these aliens who look like giant octopuses slap their tentacles right on the glass. And when doing so, it creates a pattern of almost ink.
it looks like
It almost
ink,
looks
yeah.
like ink, but you can see that it's, it's crescent shaped, but there's little
intricacies. And
intricacies, and that's how they figure out the language is through watching them repeatedly
over and over again.
use these symbols and similar symbols, and that's how she figures out their,
Right.
their language.
Now, their language was it mathematical or were these representations were their language of. So she had to go through all these things and figure out what each squiggle meant
Right.
for their language and stuff like
Because
that.
I think she even says it in the movie, one wrong guess could be disastrous.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one wrong interpretation of one of those squiggles could mean the end of the world
Right.
for everybody.
Right.
Who knows? I mean, at one point, something happens to her, doesn't it? Doesn't she get a vision?
She starts getting these strange visions of her and what appears to be a young girl, presumably her daughter. Throughout the movie, it flashes back and forth.
Right, which is confusing at first because we don't understand why.
Right, but then you find out through watching these, flashbacks that her daughter was sick, presumably cancer, and had died.
But she's not even had a daughter at this point.
You ruined it. You
Yeah.
gave it away.
Spoiler alert.
No,
Spoiler.
spoiler.
It's a
Wicked
2016
spoiler.
movie,
Yeah.
guys. You should have seen it already. Forrest, you saw it the most recently, didn't you?
Yes, I actually watched it today.
So, I mean,
I loved it.
there was in this whole thing while they're trying to communicate with these people and try to figure out these creatures, these aliens, these extraterrestrials, the world is basically at its breaking point.
Oh, yeah.
You have China, you have Russia, you have the European Union, you have Africa, you have all these places across the world. You got China who just wants to just jump right away and start bombing and nuking these things.
I think that's kind of ironic too, with some of the I guess the factual things they were trying to portray in this fiction film, especially pertaining to who might want to act with attacking first, because I just think it's ironic because I would see maybe Russia or America attacking first.
Yeah, I mean the people with the nukes and who if they can't communicate with these extraterrestrials at some point, then we need them gone because we don't want to have these. We don't know what they're capable of.
I was anxious. I didn't want them to attack them.
Who didn't? So I mean, at right before we get to the breaking point, literally planes are flying towards these
First 10 minutes of the film.
spaceships, and they're about to drop nuclear bombs for the first time because they did, I think, send a couple bombs towards some of the ships early on just to test it to see what happened, but they hadn't used nuclear bombs at the point.
No.
And I think we're at the verge of a nuclear bombing of these ships. She figures out how to communicate with them.
Right.
Yeah.
And she gets, and they interpret what they're being told, and what they're being told is what we want to hear.
Yeah.
We find out that these creatures aren't here to kill us. They're giving us a gift. I won't tell you what this gift is, people. I don't want to ruin everything
watch
about
it.
the movie for you, so you can watch it. But I really, 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 really thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Every time I watch it, and I've watched it a couple times now, since 2016, it has made me cry. It has made me cry. As a parent,
Oh my God.
it's one of those things that you're like, oh my God, oh my heart.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, and then you learn the secret that it's heartbreaking.
Well, you already told the secret,
Yeah.
so you might as well just talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, you learn, she learns that she's going to have a daughter through.
These flashbacks aren't really flashbacks. What they are is their premonitions into her future.
Yeah, they're.
So this daughter that she knows is going to die hasn't even been conceived yet.
Yeah, and then she realizes that it's her kids are, her kid is going to die. She's going to at some time in the future give birth to a child, knowing full well that she's going to have a relationship that gets her pregnant, yet she still goes through with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, would you guys do that as parents? Would you do that?
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those conundrums, one of those questions where you're like, if I had a vision of when and if my child was to die, would I want that child to be born? And I guess I would want any time at all available with that child to get to know that child as best and as long as I
But
possibly
at the same
could.
time, like, her daughter was sick.
Yeah.
She was sick.
Yeah.
You have to assume that it's cancer just by, the
Right.
visual
Her hair.
clues. Yeah,
That's all.
the loss of hair and everything like that. So would you want to put your child through that again? Not that it's the same child, but would you want to watch your child suffer at the same time?
Well, knowing that it does before the child is born, no, I don't think I would want to. But I would also, you're given a gift, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
The gift of love.
The gift of love, and I mean, yeah, I guess I would. I mean, I would want to know that child. I guess
I'm not-
because you don't know the child until you know the child, and
yeah.
Make the time precious too.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? It
You know.
would really be worth so much more. I
Yeah,
would think.
that's a tough one.
I mean,
Yeah.
to
And
Very tough.
And you have to
Tough
think about
question.
this. This kind of literally happens all the time, where kids are born with these certain diseases or certain malfunctions in their bodies and brains and makeups, and their parents learn very quickly that their child isn't going to have much time after. I mean, you can even have tests done knowing some of these conditions, and some people do have these kids knowing that they have these conditions, and again, they accept it as a gift, and it was a gift, and then they live with that, and they live with that child as long as they possibly can, and you know, it happens on a daily basis. This is a part of our lives. It's a part of the darker side of
Yeah.
what we have to go through as humans sometimes to make these hard decisions. But again,
decisions,
you know,
and
it's crazy. But I really enjoyed this movie. It really, really was much more than just your basic sci-fi film, your basic thriller.
Definitely.
It was definitely deep, touching. It touched on the
Emotional.
humanity,
Yep.
and all aspects of humanity. The darkness, where you know they wanted to start a global war with these creatures.
yeah.
You know, to all the way to the lighter side of love, and then even the darker side of that love, being so short-lived and you know,
How precious and
yeah,
fleeting
and
it really
absolutely
is.
fleeting. I mean,
Yeah.
we're only on this planet once. At least that's what I believe. So, I would give this probably right around Rotten Tomatoes, around a 94, 95 out of 4 quadrillion null narps.
Yeah,
Eight.
I would say it looked solid 8.5 out of 10
Yeah,
for sure.
I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
yeah,
That's
good,
for sure.
good for us, awesome, man.
Yeah, I have to say, the one thing that I loved about the movie was the way she actually learned to communicate with them by
Yeah.
teaching them how to speak, or teaching them what our associations were
felt it.
with.
Yeah,
You know, like here's a human, and she's saying human and stuff like that, and they throw the image on the glass, and it's kind of cool. That's really how you teach anything to communicate. You
Like a
teach,
child.
teach a child to
A
communicate.
dog.
You hold up an apple, say this is an apple, and whatnot. So that was really I know there were aliens, but it was a real part of the human experience that they brought into the movie. Though it was a sci-fi, it had so much humanity to it.
it's kind of ironic that, you know, I never thought of it or saw it that way, John, but it's kind of ironic that she was able to teach these people how to speak English and how to speak human, basically.
Yeah.
But she was never able to give her child that experience. But they gave her the vision of her child, you know, and gave her the choice. They were the
Yeah.
one who gave her the ability to see the future.
Right.
So, but that's kind of weird and interesting that she was able to basically raise them as humans, but never not her child. But you know, yeah, again, that's
I
weird.
get what you mean.
That is,
Yeah.
yeah, I
That
see what
yeah.
you're saying.
So, what would you rate it at, John, on a scale of whatever you want?
Oh yeah, it's in the 90s. I mean, I love sci-fi anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this one was so heartfelt and brought so much humanity that I really think you wouldn't have to be somebody who watches an alien movie. It's not like Independence Day, right, where the thing lands and we got to blow the thing up, and there's a lot of funny quips.
Yeah.
Like this was a real slice of the human experience, and that brought something more to that movie than I really expected.
Oh, hell yeah.
Watching the previews.
I agree.
Right. If you were to actually look
yeah.
up the real definition of science fiction, that would meet all of the criterias of the definition of science fiction.
Hell yeah.
You know, sci-fi we think of it as alien movies and everything else, but it's much more deeper. It's all about the human aspect of, you know, science and fiction. But you definitely look up the definition of it, and you guys can figure it out for yourselves. All right. Well, that was the.
4 words.
Oh yeah, 4 words.
I got a good one.
All right. What do you got?
Trust in your fate.
Trust in your fate. That's a good one. Forrest?
Be part of the arrival.
Yeah, might as well be part of it. Or because if you don't, then you know all hell's gonna break loose.
Right.
Johnny?
Yeah, I'd say not one to miss. Really, just go out and see this movie. Rent
Yeah.
it, watch
Oh,
it. It's
yeah.
on Netflix.
It's on Amazon. Is
Amazon.
it on Netflix?
It's on Hulu.
It's on all the stuff.
on a bunch of them,
you
yeah.
can
Oh,
you can
yeah.
go out and find it, or you can steal it if you're one of those. But I highly recommend it. Great movie.
Heck yeah. What about you, Dave? 4 words?
It made me cry.
Aw.
It sure did.
Tears running down my face
Very
like a baby. All right, again, that's our movie review today, guys. Again, go check out Arrival. You can find it on, any of the streaming services. You could probably buy it on Apple, etc. All those other places, Amazon. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, please go out and check it out. All right. So this, everybody, is diving deeper into the darker side of the Rendlesham Forest Incident, Part 2.
Part 2.
Brought to
Dose.
us, our first Part 2, and it's brought to you today by Kellogg's cereal. No, I'm just kidding. By New Belgium Fat Tire Beer.
Love it.
Nice.
No, I'm just
New
kidding.
Belgium.
This John and Rachel both are going to be tag teaming you guys, and not in the special way. They're going to be tag teaming you giving you some diving deeper into the dark side,
But we can always broker a deal. Just hit us up on any of the social media.
or the Silk Road version point 2,
Three, I think we're at 3.0. I don't remember.
3.0. Yeah, you can broker a deal there.
All right, guys. So last week we talked about the first night of the Rendlesham Forest incident. All right, everybody. So we're going to dive deep into the segment we talked about last week, the Rendlesham Forest. What we discussed last week was really just the beginning of a 3-night adventure that took place in Suffolk, England. The RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge. I can't talk today. I'm sorry.
Air Force Base.
Air Force bases. Thank you.
There you go.
So this I'm about to read is the memo that was sent on January 13th of 1981. So this was a couple weeks after the incident, with the headline that says "Unexplained Lights." There are 3 short paragraphs. The first one kind of reiterates what we talked about last week, so that way for those of you who haven't listened to last week's episode, you can kind of get a gist of what we're talking about. So early in the morning of the 27th of December 1980 at approximately 0300, 2 USAF security police patrolmen saw unusual lights outside the back gate at RAF Woodbridge. Thinking an aircraft might have crashed or have been forced down, they called for permission to go outside the gate to investigate. The on-duty flight chief responded and allowed 3 patrolmen to proceed on foot. The individuals reported seeing a strange glowing object in the forest. The object was described as being metallic in appearance and triangular in shape, approximately 2 to 3 meters across the base and approximately 2 meters high. It illuminated the entire forest with a white light. The object itself had a pulsing red light on top and a bank of blue lights underneath. The object was hovering on legs as the patrolman approached the object. It maneuvered through the trees and disappeared. At this time, the animals on a nearby farm went into a frenzy. The object was briefly sighted approximately an hour later near the back gate. The next day, 3 depressions, 1.5 feet deep inches, 1.5 inches deep and 7 inches in diameter, were found where the object had been sighted on the ground. The following night, the 29th of December 1980, the area was checked for radiation. Beta gamma readings of 0.1 millicentigens. I think that's how you say it. I'm not entirely sure. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's a Geiger counter. So basically, what he said was that it was more than just background radiation. Basically,
It was.
So was recorded with peak readings in the 3 depressions and near the center of the triangle formed by the depressions. A nearby tree had moderate 0.05 to 0.07 readings on the side of the tree toward the depressions. So it not only is on the ground, but it's also surrounding the trees around where this supposed craft had landed. All right, so later in the night, a red sun-like light was seen through the trees. It moved about and pulsed. At one point, it appeared to throw off glowing particles and then broke into 5 separate white objects and then disappeared. Immediately thereafter, 3 star-like objects were noticed in the sky, 2 objects to the north and 1 to the south, all of which were about 10 degrees off the horizon. The objects moved rapidly in sharp angular movements and displayed red, green, and blue lights. The object to the north appeared to be elliptical through an 8 to 12 power lens. They then turned to full circles. The objects to the north remained in the sky for an hour or more. The object to the south was visible for 2 or 3 hours and beamed down a stream of light from time to time. Numerous individuals, including the undersigned, witnessed the activities in paragraphs 2 and 3. Signed, Charles I. Halt, Lieutenant Colonel, USAF, Deputy Base Commander.
So this is the memo he had made to basically give their official story of what happened?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so what had happened was Halt was there when they took all the readings, and he did this brilliant recording, which we'll link to. He recorded what was going on, just verbally, and you could hear the anxiety in people's voices.
It was just like an old cassette tape recorder, right?
Yeah, just this old cassette tape, and you can hear like anxiety as they're taking the Geiger counter readings, and they're looking through they call them star scopes, but really we call it night vision now, and they were getting readings of heat off of the tree where the trees were damaged and where the craft was supposed to have landed. They were getting readings of heat. One of the things that came out years later, and this is an interview that Halt gave with a guy by the name of Howard Hughes.
Not the Howard Hughes.
Not the Howard, not the Spruce Goose guy. But years later, Halt actually got in touch with the air traffic controllers, just basically saying, why did you not say that you saw anything or whatever? And basically they were so worried about their careers that they were silent about what they saw. But what they did see was they clocked one of these things going 5,000 miles an hour in the radar.
Wow.
5,000 miles an hour.
There are a lot of like radar blips that people see. Planes will, they'll contact air traffic control. Hey, did you guys see something on there? They'll be like, yeah, but what we saw wasn't going. It was going far too fast for it to be anything that you could have, But they're like, no, hey, I just saw a flash of light go by me. Yeah, well, that was going 5,000 miles an hour. Because it just pops up real quick on a blip, and it could have been an abnormality in their eyes, but something going that fast is going to move real fast across that radar screen.
Oh yeah. The other thing that was cool was he wrote this memo. Halt wrote this memo that Rachel just read because he made the higher-ups aware. So he was a deputy base commander. He made the base commander aware, who then became a 2-star general. He made them aware that we saw all these things, took all these readings. We saw light. We saw beams coming down. They thought it was lasers. And the higher-ups just ignored the whole thing. And Halt was actually told to write a memo and submit it to the British government because this didn't happen on the American Air Force Base. It's a British problem. And what did they do? Everybody just ignored it for years and years and years.
Well, and then the
Wow.
British were like, well, it's an American problem because it was your Air Force.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So-
didn't it technically happen in the Rendlesham Forest?
Yeah, so
The experience, and isn't that not property of the United Kingdom?
That is the UK's land, yeah.
yeah, it's owned by a forestry
and
commission.
so you've got both of these sides, the U.S. government going, this happened in British airspace, this happened in British land, this is a British problem, and then you got the British going, no, you guys are the one who saw it, you're the one who investigated it, it's an American problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So no wonder nothing got done about it.
Exactly.
I'm not,
Bureaucracy and politics.
I'm not gonna lie.
Drink.
Oh, God, not gonna lie. Everybody drink.
Refreshing.
What are you not gonna lie about, Forrest?
I think part of that with the whole America stance about this is the UK's land. I'm not saying America is wrong for making that decision with what they decide to do, but I think part of that is comes with what America or how America kind of is when it comes to these kind of mental things. They see something like this and say, you know what, don't worry about it. We don't care. If you see these kind of things and you go around telling people about these things, they're going to think you're just crazy anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and most governments do. I mean, there are a couple countries out there that are really open about these types of things, but America is always closed door about this type of thing.
Canada has a commission looking at
Yeah, Canada
Canada.
rocks.
Oh, yeah.
No. But yeah, I mean, definitely their stance at this point was hush hush. We're not going to talk about it. Nobody does. So, and if you do, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Like we talk about every time we talk about these types of things.
Yeah.
People like John just brought up. They were the air traffic control people didn't want to say anything because they were worried about their careers. So
Very much.
Yeah.
Very much so.
but yeah, Forrest, you definitely had a good point there.
So one of the other things that's interesting is as time went on, obviously the story's coming out and people start talking about it. And I mentioned a guy by the name of Larry Warner. Charles Holt actually said that Larry Warner wasn't there. Warren, I think it was. And when he was asked by Howard Hughes, he was asked, why would these things happen? And he said, there's a very large group of people that are very skilled in disinformation. And then he went on to say, what better way to discredit a story than to make it so ridiculous and entertaining that people think it's crazy and ignore it. He then said that there is an agency beyond the government in the background pulling the strings. All the 3-digit agencies, CIA, FBI, those types, MI6,
DOJ.
Yeah, correct. All the 3-digit agencies are only reporting and don't have enough authority to do anything.
Wow.
So there's a puppet master pulling the strings on this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Well, of course.
No,
Of course.
who was this guy that wasn't there?
Larry Warren.
Yeah, he wrote a book called Left at the East Gate.
Oh, that was written by okay, and the co-author too, right?
Yeah. It was two people.
So the guy who was actually there, who did these recordings at the scene, who took the scientific data, the guy who basically experienced this, and the one who it was firsthand was there, is telling us that this other gentleman who says that he was there was never there.
Yeah, and he's not, that gentleman's not alone. There's many people that are.
Oh, so he basically, what's this guy's name again?
Colonel Holt.
Halt.
Charles Holt.
So
yeah.
Holt was the one who said that quote about the government, right?
Correct.
That there were puppeteers pulling puppet strings. So what he's saying is that this other gentleman is one of those puppet.
One of those puppets
Is
that's
a
making it
disinformation.
ridiculous and entertaining. Yeah, the thing that he said at the conclusion of his interview was he said, "quote We are not alone."
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, so what happened after that whole experience? What happened the second day, and then the third day? Were there other things that had happened, or was it just this going into the investigation type of thing?
It's more so going into the investigation, and then of course there's the lights that they were seeing was supposedly a lighthouse off in the distance, because lighthouses move around all the time.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Stuff
From
like
rock
that,
to rock,
and
yeah.
that the impressions that were made by the supposed craft were actually, rabbits digging, even though they were in a perfect formation. I didn't know rabbits could do that.
They're amazing.
Well, have you
amazing
never seen
creatures.
Watership Down?
Wow.
I mean, they're quite intelligent. And then you get the whole Rockwall series, or Redwall.
Oh, Redwall, yeah.
Yeah, with the mouses.
Moss fern or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, if you read those stories, mice are mice and rabbits and such are quite capable of stuff like that.
They
right?
weren't. They weren't quick to investigate, but they were
Oh,
quick to cover it up. That's for sure.
Yeah, so since then they've actually there's been many sightings in that spot, and Halt said, and this is the last piece I have. Halt said that there's these beings, aliens, whatever you want to call it, are attracted to that spot. He's like, I don't know if it's a portal or if it's the magnetism or whatever, but there have been many sightings in that Rendlesham Forest area in that part of England since then.
Wow.
Now, what is at this actual Air Force base? Was it just a
It's
strategical?
a NATO site, so it's.
So it was just a strategical place for. This wasn't a nuclear site, was it?
I believe it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It
Well,
was
that's the
during.
reason why we're seeing all these
Was
things.
during the Cold War. All this happened, right at the height of 1980. So I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, Poland was overthrowing their communist regime.
Right.
Russia was losing footing. I mean, this is
And we were at the height of
10 years
nuclear-
before they tore down the wall in
Interesting.
Berlin.
Right.
Because if you do look through the history of a lot of these sites at different Air Force bases, different military installations, you're going to see that these sites are nuclear installations.
oh yeah,
Across the world. I'm talking American, I'm talking Russian, Chinese. All of these countries that have developed nuclear devices are being visited by these extraterrestrials throughout the history of man. And you would basically say, yeah, no shit that people are still seeing, and have continued to see aliens and such in that general area, just like they do in Arizona, Utah, and all those places where we still have nuclear, bombs.
Yeah, lighthouses in Arizona moving around.
yeah.
Oh, I go to Maine all the time, and I see some lighthouses, and I go to another town. It's like, oh, That's the same lighthouse. Must have moved.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
So now it's a park. If
Rendlesham?
Yeah,
the UFO trail.
The UFO
Really?
trail.
No
I
way.
forgot about that. Yeah, they made you can
I wanna go there.
pay to walk there, or
Yeah,
or
this
do
is
a-
the
do a-
walking path, and where the spot was supposed to be, there's a model of the craft that was supposed to have landed
Oh,
there.
what they considered it look like and everything.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. All right, you guys have any more information for us in this regard? So, I mean, where can people find like some links and stuff? You could Google.
Yeah.
Google all these guys.
There is a wonderful website. I believe it's titled rendleshamforest.com. That has a lot of
Easy to find.
insight and documents. Everything you pretty much need.
And you can go to YouTube, right?
Oh yeah, YouTube has a ton of
Like
interviews.
tons of lots of hours of information and material.
So
on there
many
about
hours,
it.
it's ridiculous. You can also listen to the actual audio recorded from Halt that night.
Yeah, we'll
Is
link to
available.
that.
Yeah, we'll definitely link
totally
to
have
that.
a
That
link.
would be good.
Okay, so here's a clip now of the audio that was recorded on the night of Halt's investigation.
Looking directly overhead, one can see an opening in the trees, plus some freshly broken pine branches on the ground underneath. Looks like someone came off about 15 to 20 feet up. Some small branches about an inch or less in diameter. 0148, we're hearing very strange sounds out of the farmer's barnyard animals. It's very, very active, making an awful lot of noise.
Yes, in a pigmentation.
You just saw a light where?
Sir.
Wait, no, slow down. Where?
Right in this position here, straight ahead, in between the tree. There it is again.
Oh.
Watch, straight ahead off my flash right there, sir. There it is.
Hey, I see it too. What is it?
We don't know, sir.
So can I get some of it? Yeah, it's a strange, small red light. Looks to be out maybe a quarter to half mile, maybe further out. 244, we're at the far side of the second farmer's field, and made sighting again about 110 degrees. This looks like it's clear out to the coast. It's right on the horizon. Moves about a bit and flashes from time to time. Still steady or red in color. Also, after negative readings in the center of the field, we're picking up slight readings, 4 or 5 clicks now on the meter. 305, we see strange strobe-like flashes to the rather sporadic, but there's definitely something, some kind of phenomenon. 305, at about 10 degrees horizon directly north, we've got 2 strange objects, half-moon shape, dancing about with colored lights on them. Guess to be about 5 to 10 miles out, maybe less. The half moons have now turned into full circles. As though there was an eclipse or something there for a minute or two. 0315 now, we've got an object about 10 degrees directly south, 10 degrees off the horizon. And the ones to the north are moving, one's moving away from us.
It's moving out fast. This one on the right heading away.
The object to the south is still beaming down lights to the ground. 0400 hours, one object still hovering over Woodbridge Base at about 5 to 10 degrees off the horizon, still moving erratic and similar lights and beaming down as earlier.
All right, guys. Well, that was diving deeper into the darker side. That was the continuation and conclusion of the Rendlesham Forest incident. Thank you guys for bringing all that knowledge to us. We appreciate it wholeheartedly for doing all the research and doing all the hard work.
Glad you guys enjoyed it.
I loved it.
It's quite an interesting story.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to dive even further deeper, please again just look up all those information.
It's insane how deep and how extended this goes, but it's not enough for a 1-hour podcast.
Exactly.
Aliens, a world cabal, keeping all the information down. It's fantastic.
I mean, we can do a conspiracy theory episode about who actually runs the world at some point in the future, guys, for sure.
Heck yeah.
It's me.
Oh, John, if it was you, we'd be so much more rich.
If I ruled the
money-wise.
world, I would free all my sons. Imagine that.
Oh my god, you guys.
Oh God. Oh, who did that song? Was that?
Nas, I think.
It was Nas. Yes, thank you for bringing some Nas into my day.
Yeah, with all apologies to Nas, you're the man. You're the man, Nas.
Doesn't come often enough for sure. All right, guys, we're going to get into our next segment, a segment we like to call "Getting Lost in the Forest." This is a segment where Forrest basically gives us a topic or something, a rant basically about something that was really just upsetting him, making him mad, currently in politics or in the world, etc. Forrest, over to you, bro.
Okay, this is a news story from AP News Source. I gotta add a follow-up story as well from NoStraightNews.com. North Carolina woman from Rutherfordton, North Carolina, admitted in court on Friday that she led approximately 30 parishioners from her church to attack, kidnap, and beat a gay member of the church in an effort to expel his demons.
So basically, try to make them straight because homosexuality to them is a demonic.
She tried to beat the gay out of
She
him.
tried to beat the. You
horrible.
can't beat the gay out of people. Right? I've never tried, but
people.
it doesn't sound like a.
Hey, Forrest, you want to play a game?
It's called beat the gay out of you, bro.
I'm not gonna lie, it sounds like a crazy ass fucking game.
Oh, not gonna lie. So every time Forrest says that, we everybody's got to take a drink.
Yep.
Especially if you're driving a car.
All right, continue, Forrest. Sorry about that.
Oh no, it's fine. Anderson said she believed Fenner was unclean and sinful after the minister of the church, Brooke Covington, launched into a reported 2-hour-long verbal assault on the man. This poor fellow, who was also kidnapped, church members blocked him from leaving the church, holding him against his will as he was berated, slapped, and choked by fellow parishioners at the Spindale Church.
Ooh, they're doing Jesus' work, man.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, so where in the Bible does it say that that's actually wrong? Is there a chapter?
Well, I think they talk a lot about, like, doing unto others as you'd want to be done to you. So I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't want anything beating the hell out of me. Keep your fucking hands off me. You don't touch me at all.
I can't imagine what
Let
this
me
guy
be
went
who
through.
I am. Yeah, man. So what's got you? What's chafing your balls here, buddy? What's making?
You have to ask that question. Why does this bother you, Forrest?
What really grinds my gears today, it's 2018. We are still seeing legislators writing laws, creating legislation that allows for religious freedoms that oppresses the minorities of this country. This kind of message from our government and legislators perpetuate the bully culture and specifically the bullying and oppression of the LGBTQ community, and its exclusive and discriminatory intentions are affecting the lives of young and adult LGBT Americans on a daily basis. The problem is every state has different laws about bullying and sexual discrimination. Those states that allow for this type of religious-based discrimination make it difficult for the people of the state to have a say or vote on traditional legislation abolishment. Legislation for protections, that's a big fucking problem to me. It should be a problem to a lot of people, actually, not just me. If these laws, non-protections, and exclusions are still present or not put in legislation for the protection of these American minorities who are hard workers and pay taxes in just like all those who are protected under the law, how can these minority groups not feel like second-class citizens? And what kind of message is that sending to our younger generations? How is this setting an example for younger Americans, younger adults?
It's gonna push them back into the closet. Unfortunately, it's like with that, nowadays it's a lot easier to come out as it was many years ago.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, very.
And in some places it was considered illegal. So
Yep.
I mean,
Still is technically.
yeah.
in
so
some states.
it's
So a little bit further into this, Texas used to deem LGBT as hybrid prototypes in their state's constitution. This I know because I used to study the state constitutions of this nation. I wanted to know where I was and wasn't protected.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's smart. It's very
Yeah.
smart.
I want to know where I would want to live. I pay my freaking taxes. I work hard. If I have to go somewhere for a job transfer or something, I want to know what states are more harmful or more progressive or welcoming.
it's a safety issue for you.
Yeah,
It really
Absolutely.
is.
it is. It
Are
really.
are you gonna move to a state where they're gonna beat the crap out of you?
Yeah.
You
Or
know?
allow somebody to and not prosecute them as a hate
Exactly.
crime. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
It's sad. I had a bisexual friend throughout college. I didn't really know her from college. I knew her from somewhere else. She moved back down to her hometown with her parents in Texas, and once again, she's extremely unhappy with everything there. Many people still can't get married in certain counties in the South. You can still be bullied for your sexuality in many states where discriminatory religious legislations allows for bullying. Being fired from your job, evicted from your apartment, even assaulted to a degree, all because of how you love and who you choose to have private consensual sex with. Also, a lot of places still allow hate crimes against the LGBTQ plus communities to not be recognized as hate crimes. You can be denied a job, even denied a marriage transfer between states. A friend of mine was denied a gun permit and was denied treatment by a doctor. This
Jesus.
list could go on forever. When are we going to hold our government responsible for their unconstitutional acts against the American people? Many states in the South don't follow federal laws against discrimination, while they still receive maximum federal funding that they can get from the federal government. There's no inclusions for protections against bullying and sexual discrimination, and this has affected me to this day. More and more stories keep coming out about hate crimes while our government is still obsessing over the rights of LGBT plus Americans, yet they don't write protections to all and don't prosecute those that do discriminate whatsoever, in most cases. Donald Trump and the GOP seem to clearly enable extremist groups in America, such as alt-right, KKK, neo-Nazis, nationalists, etc. Keeps growing, it seems like. Because of similar views held, I chose to cut off family for my own well-being over the years. Most recently, I cut off a family member as well, due to a certain incident that I encountered. Nothing crazy, just talking and stuff. I was bullied to the point I wanted to kill myself when I was 14, 15. The message I got from all public schools I went to was, sorry, nothing we can do because the state has nothing for protections. Sorry, just because a policy isn't backed by the state, but bullying in the name of religious belief does not make it right for someone to bully, verbally harass, threaten, assault, or stalk, all because someone can't think logically, their narrow-minded thought process. You know, I was blamed for my forced exit out of the closet by my school administrators. You know, just exit through the gift shop, why don't you? Like, seriously.
Yeah, basically.
And ever since the Orlando nightclub shootings and hate crimes in the LGBT community are rising in a lot of cities, how do you expect we should feel right now, you know, living in Trump land, you know? From my own experience, a lot of people I know don't even want to go anywhere because of how paranoid they are of being, you know, maltreated by the hand and words of these simple-minded and religiously biased groups.
Yeah.
To this day, I don't know if I will ever forget those days of my bullying past. If I do in the future, that'll be a gift. I've developed anxiety and depression due to this abuse and discrimination that affects me on a daily basis, and millions of other Americans. Some say high school was the best time of their lives. Well, school in general for me, up until senior year, was hell for me. I can't even hear the word fag anymore without subconsciously thinking about the past, and then my head, you know, just kicks in. I would love to quickly give a shout out to everyone who has stuck with me through the progress of this segment. It means the world to me. My message to anyone facing any kind of situation of bullying in any year of their life: seek help. There are people out there that care. As I know, when you think it can't get any darker, you are completely mistaken. It most certainly can, and please seek help. You can get through it.
So yeah, I mean, Jesus, Forrest, really totally against any type of legislation that allows for any type of religious discrimination.
As I'm sure a lot of people are, I think.
Well,
I hope.
A good majority of us, people who don't really want religion in our laws or in our schools or anything like that. Keep your religion out of my life. If your religion, it's not my religion. And if it is my religion, you know, I still wouldn't hold anybody, you know.
That was like the biggest thing in middle school when I was getting bullied. All the bullies, I don't know if the parents told them what to say or if they just thought of it.
Kids are cruel, and a lot of them do learn from their parents.
Yeah, they hear it around the dinner table.
They played the religion card once they get in trouble, and it was just like, really?
Yeah, your religion shouldn't be able to protect you against any type of cruel behavior to any human being whatsoever.
So, like, if I wanted to go into Walmart and steal a bunch of shit, I could say that Jesus told me to?
Yeah, well, I mean, you probably would.
You can. It's not going to work, but you can.
You could,
Okay.
possibly.
Yeah, I mean, more likely you could go into a Walmart and hit someone and bully them
Because of my religious
because of your religious
Okay.
beliefs.
All right.
And be protected by it. This type of legislation. A lot of it's mostly in the religious breadbasket of America. We're not, you know, I mean, this podcast isn't heavily religious. We have our own views and thoughts and opinions on religion and our own faiths. But
Satan.
Hail Satan.
Yeah, hail Satan.
Right.
Hail yourself, more like it.
The flying spaghetti monster teaches us all that we should be kind to one another.
Flying spaghetti monster, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that.
All right, Forrest, again, thank you so much for diving us, getting us lost in your forest.
Thank you.
You know, it brings up the weird, the things that humanity, how it really affects us all. And you know, I mean, whether you are LGBTQ or if you're, you know, what do they call us?
An ally.
Yeah.
Almost, majority. I'd say a lot of people in America are allies.
I would just call us, humans.
People.
We love the
Yeah,
other
right.
humans.
Exactly, we're all
Regardless of
human.
any of the bullshit. We all have bullshit.
We're all skeletons.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Well, guys, that is the Darker Side podcast for today. I am David Pottle. You can find me on Facebook. You can find my band Frenemy at Frenemy Providence. You can find my other podcast, Life, Relationships, and Everything in Between with Kevin Spurl. Most importantly, please, people, we need you to rate and like our podcast.
Please rate.
Put a review, please, on whatever platform you go to. Please, it gets people curious about us. The bigger our rating is, the better. The more we have reviews, people read them and want to listen into our podcast. So please help out in that respect. Rachel, your deets.
All right, guys, I am Rachel Pottle. You can find me on Facebook, Rachel Gordon Pottle. I spell my name the right way, Rachel. I'm also on Snapchat. I don't know how to work any of the other social media platforms because I'm old. But yeah, you can certainly hit me up there or on Snapchat, DRP49532. Send me some pics.
What's real quick your deets?
Forrest Smith. I have, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that great stuff. I got Forrest Films on Facebook, YouTube, all that crazy stuff. Don't forget to please check us out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Podbean, Android Music, iTunes podcasts, iTunes in general, I guess. All these awesome apps. And please rate us and let us know what you think. And feel free to message us too if you have any.
Yeah, start a conversation.
Yeah, creepypasta or anything.
Yeah, if you throw us some reviews, maybe we'll read them on air.
Hell yeah.
Good or bad.
I like that.
And if you're curious about us, we're curious about you.
Yes. Very curious.
Johnny, your deets, where can people find you, bro?
Yeah, sure. I'm Herman Brau. That's HERRMANNBRAU, like the German word for beer, at Instagram. Hit me up there. Send me pictures of your motorcycles. Please take a picture of the bike in front of stuff and hashtag it accordingly. Also, pictures of your kittens, your children, your food. I love it all. Just send it all my way. We can start a silly conversation on Instagram. Other than that, please find this podcast. That is the Darker Side podcast at Instagram, and love it like crazy because Instagram is literally the best platform.
Oh, I love Instagram.
Guys, if you are coming across any types of issues, any types of bullying, any types of social injustices, please seek help.
Please.
We do talk about a lot of the darker things that happen in this. We don't want you guys to be one of our news stories.
No.
We don't want you to be one of the weird, fucked up experiences that we do talk about. Please seek help.
Forrest through a bunch of numbers.
Yep.
Yep, and
And,
Forrest, I think you can
helplines.
continue to link that. And,
Yep, I will link
just check
that.
our page out. We've got tons of links for these types of things.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Forrest does a good job advocating for this. Thank you, Forrest. And,
Thank you.
And for the love of the flying spaghetti monster, you cannot beat the gay out of people. It doesn't work, and it just makes you a total asshole.
I thought that was...
The worst fucking human being. In
Seriously.
my opinion. Seriously,
Total
yeah.
asshole. You suck.
Yeah.
Don't beat the gay out of people.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that felt creeped out by the aliens
Oh, from
from what they looked like? I mean, I thought they were fucking creepy.
from Arrival?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I'm sorry.
Oh god.
They're giant octopuses.
All right.
The
guys.
giant spaghetti monster.
The fucking
Oh,
spaghetti
my
monster.
Lisa.
That's where it comes from.
Okay, that's where you're.
If she wore a colander on her head, the movie would have been over in 5 minutes. It'd have been like, I'm saying bro, and just taken off.
Good cold outro for the show. All right, guys. Thank you for thank you for coming to the darker side with us.
The darker side.
The darker side podcast. The darker side.
Doom, bow, bow.